Welcome to Don't Panic. Today we're going to make 3 different pickling recipes. We're going to pickle red onions, carrots, and jalapenos. I have 3 different brines that we're going to try out, so let's not waste any time and dive right into it. Call it. Starting off with the pickled red onions. Once your red onion is peeled and cut in half, we're just going to run our knife down and create some nice onion strips, or a makeshift julienne that kind of forms naturally with the onion layers. Once chopped, we have a 16-ounce canning jar that we're going to use to store our vegetables in today, and you can almost use any container with a nice airtight lid that's moderately heat resistant. Adding our onions to the jar, we're going to fill it up, leaving a good amount of space from the top of the jar. Next, we'll grab a saucepan and start on our pickling liquid. For this one, we're going to use a half a cup of white vinegar and 1/2 cup of apple cider vinegar. To that, we'll add 1 cup of water. Next is 1 tablespoon of sugar, and not 1, but 2 teaspoons of kosher salt. We'll give it a quick stir and bring it to a boil and let it simmer until there is no solids left in the liquid and everything is dissolved. I found that it usually doesn't take too long for everything to dissolve. Once the liquid is good to go, we'll take it back over to our onion jar and pour it over the onions and into the jar. I'll loosely put on the lid, and we're going to want this to sit at room temperature for about an hour to cool down before we put it in the fridge. After about a day in the fridge, your pickled onion should be good to go. They'll last for about 2 to 3 weeks in the fridge. Next is the carrots. We'll start off peeling the carrots and getting the outer layer of skin off. After peeling, it's time to cut these down into smaller strips. So we'll start off with taking the top off the carrot and working these down into not exact, but similar in size pieces. We'll add our carrot sticks to a jar, and for this recipe, I'm going to add about 10 peppercorns to the jar before I add my pickling liquid. For the pickling brine, I used 1 cup of white vinegar, 1 cup of water, 1 tablespoon of salt, and 2 tablespoons of sugar, which from what I understand is a pretty standard pickling brine recipe. Now, I don't know if it's a golden rule of pickling or not, but it seems that a majority of the time your water to vinegar ratio is going to be a 1-to-1. Now, when I did the carrots this time, I thought I would have enough pickling brine to fill up the 2 jars because I thought that there would be enough water displacement from the carrots that I could somehow miraculously pull this off. Sadly, I couldn't, so I whipped up another quick batch of liquid to finish off my second jar of carrots. And after that, with the carrots good to go, we're going to let them sit for an hour to cool down before we put them in the fridge. On to the jalapenos. I used about 4 large jalapenos cut down into discs, and that was about all it took to fill up my jar. I decided to leave everything all intact with the jalapenos, which will really kick up the spice level a notch when these are done. After filling my jar, I took 2 cloves of garlic and did a rough chop on those so that I can add them to the pickling liquid. Once the pan is in place, I added the rough chopped garlic cloves and my pickling liquid ingredients, which are the same ones we used before in the carrots, but this time with the garlic added, just to add a little more garlic flavor to our brine. The pickling brine again is 1 cup of white vinegar, 1 cup of water, 1 tablespoon of salt, and 2 tablespoons of sugar. We're going to bring it to a boil and then add the pickling brine to our container of jalapenos. I also put any extra garlic cloves that didn't make it into the pour with some tongs so that they could stay with the jalapenos, hopefully bringing a nice garlic infused flavor. So sometimes pickling can get you into a serious pickle. That's our pickling video. Thank you for tuning in to Don't Panic. We learned a lot along the way. If this video is something that you enjoyed, feel free to give it a like and subscribe to the channel if you would love to see more videos. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.